Want to sell digital downloads or Etsy print-on-demand print products? So which one is better or worse? Or is one more profitable than the other? And how do we compete and win in either or category? These are all the topics that we are going to discuss in today's video, so let's get into it. Welcome back, guys. My name is Hannah Gardner. If you are new to the channel, I teach people how to build brands mainly on Etsy, but also Shopify as well. I have been documenting my e-commerce journey here on YouTube, and yes, that includes all of my wins and all of my losses, because I have a fundamental belief that your losses or your failures make you a better entrepreneur. And so why not share them? This digital and print on demand space is super hot right now. It is kind of a similar up and up trend that we've seen with the drop shipping model going viral, or back when Amazon arbitrage was the big thing, and then that turned into Amazon private label. If you don't know which each one of these are, I will give you a brief description. Digital assets are things like this, where you're actually just selling things like printable calendars, printable photo art, where essentially once you make a purchase, you're not getting a physical thing. You're getting a file that you can then print or use the design or use the artwork for whatever you want to use it for. Now, what is print on demand? Print on demand is actually selling physical product goods, but the model works like this. You basically create a design, you can put it on a blank. A blank could be a multitude of things in tools like Printify or My Designs. You have a plethora of options to choose from, like a catalog, and you can select what you want to print your designs on. Now, you integrate your Printify or your My Designs account with your Etsy account, and when someone purchases from your Etsy shop, your print provider are actually going to fulfill the order and then ship the item to your customer. And this is technically considered drop shipping, because you don't actually have to pay for the product until it sells, and you have to do no fulfillment for yourself. So with that being said, let's tackle the first question here. Which one is better? This is actually not a black and white answer. Similar to my how to price your Etsy items or free shipping versus non-free shipping videos that you can check out as well, there's not one that's better or worse. It's educating yourself on the model itself and going after and achieving the highest quality listings and products as humanly possible to be able to compete and win in each niche. So what I mean by educate yourself, understand the model, understand what works in that model, the value propositions that you need to have, or the competitive features that you need to have in a digital download listing is not necessarily the same, well, it's not the same as selling print on demand products. You also need to be realistic with yourself as far as, you know, after you educate yourself, which roadmap or which direction is more realistic and more achievable for you personally. So what do we know about either or niche that may help you come to decipher which one is best for you? Well, what do we know, right? We know that both niches require heavy design capability, meaning if you are somebody that fundamentally has never done graphic design or picked out fonts and color schemes and put them together to make everything look aesthetic and pretty, it's likely that that skill has not been acquired yet. So it's not that you can't be successful, it's just if you've never done design before, it might take you a little bit longer to get your store up to the level of competitiveness of your competitors who are at the top in both spaces. Another similarity between the two niches is if you look at the stores that are really killing it, like the stores that are in the hundreds of thousands of sales, or stores that have opened, you know, within a year that are getting large number of sales in a short amount of time, one key factor obviously is having that creative hand, but also the amount of listings that they have. So the really, really top stores are in the later hundreds, if not thousands of listings in their shop. Because of the competitive nature that both models are becoming, right? It just requires you to have a lot more listings to test out to increase your searchability. That usually translates into more sales. Another similarity is that they both have no fulfillment. Automated process on the back end. So once you post a listing, you just have to do some customer service. And that is the beautiful nature of these models. And that's why so many people are rushing to them to build competitive stores. What are some differences? I would argue that the digital download space actually, for a lot of niches, actually requires a lot more design capability and design work in order to be competitive than, say, the print-on-demand space. With the print-on-demand space, you can make very simple designs and basically put it on a mug, on a sweater, and on a mouse pad, on a shirt, right? And use one design across a plethora of products and a plethora of categories, right? In the digital download space, what we're seeing, what is working is that, you know, if you're selling a pack of logos, the top seller is giving, you know, a pack of logos of 50 logos away for X price, right? Then it's in your best interest to heighten the value proposition and beat that competitor by offering 70 logos for X price or a similar price. So there's a lot more design effort and time that needs to go into digital downloads in order to create more competitive listings. And it's not to say that you can't cross-use some designs and put it in different other product listings, and that will help speed things up for sure. Now this leads me to my next question, which is, which one is more profitable? Kind of like the previous question, which was, which one's better, right? It's not really that one is better than the other. And I think both of them can be wildly profitable. It just depends how you set up the store in your particular use case, in the angle that you particularly go in, right? If you go into the digital download space and are selling higher ticket digital downloads, like things like Shopify templates, some of these are $98, $30 and up. Whereas if you're selling a logo download template, the price point here we're seeing is a lot cheaper, unless obviously someone is offering a full design service where they're making them a custom logo. But personally, if I was gonna sell digital downloads, I would try to go after product opportunities that are way more high ticket than just, say, downloadable thank you cards or something like that, where a lot of these price points are, you know, $1 to $8. So at first glance, we would assume that the digital download space is more profitable because there's actually no product cost, right? They're getting a digital asset. So your profit margin compared to the sale price is pretty much like 89%, arguably close to 90% for your marketing cost percentage. Now, like I mentioned, if you're not selling higher ticket digital download art, that means then once you factor in a huge key variable expense, which is your marketing cost percentage, right? If you're selling very low ticket digital downloadable assets, right, there's not a lot of room there for marketing cost percentage, because once you start investing money on your listings that are very lowly priced, right, that's gonna eat away on that net profit pretty fast if your products are only priced at like $5. If you compare that to, say, the print-on-demand space, your price points are usually can get up to the $20, $30, $40 range. You have a little bit more room to play because your price point is higher in some cases. Again, this is in some cases. Again, you still have to factor in your cost of goods sold, so the cost of the product, and your marketing cost percentage. And the worst thing that you can do when you're educating yourself on either or model is to estimate your profitability just based off of what the product is, less fees, less product costs. It's an inaccurate way to plan for your business, right? Because the other huge variable expense in there is your marketing cost percentage, which arguably every single Etsy store should implement Etsy ads as soon as possible and get to your max budget allowance of $1,000 a day as fast as possible. And I have a whole other video on this in my channel and the psychology behind Etsy ads. But like I mentioned before, the worst thing that you could do is start planning out your model without this big variable expense of your marketing cost percentage. Now, when you go to market for the first time, unfortunately, you don't know what that's going to be for your shop, because it is going to be higher or it is going to be cheaper based on how competitive your product listings are. And the idea is that when you go to market for the first time and you have no reviews and you have no social proof and no organic indexing, your marketing cost percentage is going to be higher. And then as you begin gaining rank, as you begin getting reviews, right, that marketing cost percentage should decrease over time. So if the first month you go to market, it's super high, like say it's like 30%, right? Then the next month your goal is to get it down to 25%. And then the next month your goal is to get it down to 22%, right? And to optimize and tweak the dials accordingly, right? Again, there's a whole video on this. But with that being said, and how this relates to profitability, both the niches can be super profitable. I would explore, when you're doing your product research or your business research, your Etsy business planning research, on how you can optimize either or for the max profitability. So an example for this is kind of like we already mentioned with digital downloads, is what product opportunities can I compete and win in that are actually selling at a high price point? Same thing with the print on demand space. What product opportunities am I seeing that have bestseller badge, 20 add to cart badges on their listings, but the product that they're using or the blank that they're using actually yields a really good profit margin after you factor in the cost of goods sold or the cost of the product, right? So plan accordingly based off of going after product opportunities to optimize for profitability. Now, like I mentioned, you don't know what your marketing cost percentage is. And so I can't sit here and say it's gonna be 30% or 7%, right? Because every niche and every store is different. But you want to have room for a marketing cost percentage in your business model. How to compete in either or. Let's just list off a few strategies that work for both. One we already mentioned, which is having in the later hundreds, if not thousands of listings. It should be built into your SOP, your standard operating procedure, to be launching new products and new listings on a weekly basis. Now, the worst thing that you can do is go to market and put a bunch of pressure on yourself and try to get to 1,000 listings in the first 30 days. This is just going to cause you to burn out and hate your life, and it's just not winning. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Consistency over long periods of time is better than trying to get to the finish line and then never even making it to the finish line because you burnt yourself out. This is the same thing for my YouTube videos. I've been putting out YouTube videos for over 5 years now. I gave my channel love, I gave my channel everything, thousands of hours of work without asking for anything in return, knowing that there's a later play in all of this, the day that I decide to sell other things on my YouTube channel. But there was thousands of hours of work, thousands of hours of research, 1,000 hours of editing videos, asking for nothing in return, just giving the max value. And it's similar when you go to market with Etsy for the first time. You're not looking to make $1 million. You're looking to get a proof of concept for, do people even want what you have to sell? Is your skills even competitive when you go to market for the first time, and does that translate into sales, right? The winning is just finding out who your customer avatar is, what their needs, wants, fears, and goals are, and getting a proof of concept and building a consistent system of getting research and development followed by products to market as realistically as fast as possible without killing yourself. Another commonality is that you are going to want to focus on getting to the max Etsy budget allowance of $1,000 a day as fast as possible. Now, if you're selling digital downloads or you're selling the print-on-demand products, your ad budget actually might spend more than, say, my ad budget, because you have so many more product listings. When you start getting into the hundreds or not, if not thousands of listings, right, your $1,000 a day budget actually might spend, because you are increasing your searchability with the amount of listings that you have, meaning it's showing up on more pages, meaning you're getting more clicks, and then you're paying for those clicks. And what does that mean? That means that if you want to play it safe and you don't want to just come out of the gate spending a huge budget on your ads, there's a way that you can do it more strategically, or the safer route, which again, you can check out that video. The moral of the story is basically you just turn on listings that organically start taking off first, instead of turning on 500 listings and putting, $1,000 behind it, because it actually will probably spend a lot of your budgets. Another strategy that you can implement is starting and ending a sale the same day. What this does is earns you an urgency badge. It looks something like this. It says that this sale is ending in XYZ amount of time, and it kind of puts the psychology behind, if I can buy something now and at least get 10% off or 20% off, or I can wait and buy it later, not get it. And even though you're going to start and end the sale every single day the same day, you're just creating a bigger sense of urgency. And you don't have to do this every single day, but I would recommend to do it a couple times a week at least. Let's just talk about specific compete and win strategies for print on demand. Is becoming more and more price competitive as competition arises, right? Especially if you're just making standard designs and not like actual art on your print on demand products, right? If you're just making standard designs, right, you actually are competing more on price than other niches, for example. So one thing that a lot of POD sellers do is they actually make the least sold variation option in their drop-down menu a cheaper price, even maybe a break-even price, so it shows a cheaper price on the front end. And what this does is it gets you that click, and basically that tells Etsy that you have a really high CTR compared to your competitors, and then Etsy starts giving more love and more impressions to that listing, right? Obviously, we want to make sure that the listing is optimized, your photos are competitive and all that stuff, so make sure that that click turns into a conversion. But overall, that's just one thing that we can do that can help you stand out in comparison to your competition. Another thing that is very heavily weighed in the print on demand space is your mock-ups. So really making sure that you're using competitive mock-ups for your print designs. And actually a really great place to buy mock-ups is right here on Etsy, actually, surprisingly. And you really want to find mock-ups that are following trends and are competitive, not just plain or not just super 3D rendered mock-ups. Like, you want to make them look as realistic and trendy as possible. A place to get inspired by trends and what's currently trending based off colors and fonts and just styles of products is Pinterest, believe it or not, which is free. If you type in any keyword in Pinterest right now and you type in trendy mom shirt, right? Pinterest is organically going to show you and aggregate to the top what is currently trending. That is what Pinterest is. Another huge strategy that people are doing, they're making listings in the POD realm that incentivize a group sale. So that's making shirts for teams or bridesmaids shirts and displaying multiple shirts in the front image. So even though when you click on the product listing, you have to add to cart separately each item, what this does is it shows Etsy that you have a higher order value on that listing, and Etsy is going to prioritize your listing against your competitors, because if you historically are having a higher order value compared to a competitor selling, a similar item with similar keywords, right? Etsy is going to end up favoring your listing in the long run, because if you're making more money, Etsy's obviously making more money. Now let's talk about some strategies for the digital download space. Go after product opportunities that have a higher order value. So things that tend to be a little bit more technical or a little bit harder to recreate. After the harder niches, like I already mentioned, the Shopify template one is huge, just adding a more competitive edge to your store as a whole. Standard digital download Etsy listing actually will automatically send you the digital asset once they purchase it. If you set up a digital download listing in Etsy, you actually don't have the option to sell variation options. And so what I would do on a couple of my top selling listings, or what I would explore, I would go, like I said, go a little bit extra, go the extra mile compared to your competitors, is I would not classify the item as a digital download, and I would actually test out a couple of my best sellers where I have to manually send them the digital asset file. And the reason why I would do this is because I would actually create a drop-down menu. And the reason why I would do this is because anytime you bundle items or you offer a tier of upsells, by having that drop-down menu, there's always going to be a percentage of people that buy the highest ticket thing. I wanted to sell logo templates, and I have a competitor that's selling one that has 100 logo templates in there, right? I would then, to compete with that listing, I would match them on quality, creative design, stuff like that. I would try to make it better. Obviously, not copy, but get inspired and make it better. And I would then offer a drop-down menu that offers 120 and then maybe 150 and offer a tier of upsells. And what this is going to do, again, that historically is going to increase your average order value. So if you match the competitiveness of the listing on the front end, or maybe even made the price a little bit cheaper than your competitors, right? Once they click on that listing, they'll see that they actually have a tier of upsells awaiting them. And, you know, the people that do end up buying the upsell or buying into the upsell is going to historically increase the average order value of your listing, which is going to signal to Etsy that actually this listing is doing better than your competitors and that you deserve more exposure. I would test this out to get a proof of concept with myself on maybe the first 10 of my bestsellers first. So duplicate my bestseller, add a tier of upsells. Every time I get a sale, again, I'm gonna have to manually send them the link to the digital asset, but it literally takes like 2 seconds of extra added work. But if it proves that it works better, then I would do it on more of my listings. And I would also advertise, like every digital download listing usually has a how it works page. So I would make sure that I would include that I would manually send them the link once they purchase. These are the things that I'm always looking for of how can I add more value in my listing compared to my competitors. I hope you got some serious value out of this video. If you have stayed until the end, so much gratitude towards you. Please comment down any of your questions or concerns below, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.